Okay, we've all been there, right? You've got this interesting fact, this useful piece of information, but you're not sure how to share it without coming across as a total know-it-all. Well, today we're going to fix that. We are learning how to be a humble genius.
So picture this, you're in a conversation, somebody says something that's just a little bit off, and you feel that twitch, that powerful urge to jump in and correct them, but you stop yourself. Why? Because you don't want to be that person.
And you know exactly the phrase I'm talking about. Well, actually, it's the calling card of the know-it-all. It's the verbal equivalent of a record scratch that just stops a good conversation dead in its tracks.
So let's really dig into this, what I'm calling the well-actually problem. Why is it that just trying to be helpful can so often backfire on us?
Well, this approach basically makes you sound like a YouTube comment section that's come to life. Your goal might be to share knowledge, but the whole vibe shifts from connecting with someone to correcting them. And you almost always end up making the other person feel kind of small.
So why does this approach fail so spectacularly? It's actually pretty simple. It's because it's not about the facts. It's all about the feelings.
Look, even if you are 100% correct, a direct, unsolicited correction, it just doesn't land as helpful advice. Our brains register it as a social attack. Psychologically, you're challenging someone's competence, their social standing, and that immediately puts them on the defensive. And you can see the emotional fallout right here. When people get corrected, they feel defensive, they feel dumb, or they just get plain annoyed. But notice what's missing from this chart. Gratitude. There's no, hey, thanks for teaching me. You've completely lost the conversation before you've even made your point.
All right, so if that's what doesn't work, what does? The answer is to become a humble genius. Let's break down what that really means.
The key here is this technique called humble teaching. It's not about proving you're right. It's about inviting the other person to discover something with you. The whole game shifts from confrontation to collaboration.
And really, it all comes down to this fundamental shift in mindset. A know-it-all is looking for a confrontation to prove I am right. But a humble genius, their goal is collaboration, to say, hey, let's learn this together. One creates a battle, the other creates a bond.
Okay, that's the theory. Let's get super practical. I'm going to give you the exact words, the scripts you can use to put this humble teaching idea into practice right away.
Just look at this comparison. Instead of that cringeworthy, well, actually, try leading with something like, I was reading the other day and apparently, or instead of a blunt, that's wrong, try a much softer, more curious, that's interesting, I heard a different take. These little phrases reframe the whole thing. It's not a correction anymore, it's a shared discovery. It is an absolute game changer.
Here's how you do it in the moment, in 3 easy steps. First, when you get that urge to correct, just pause, take a beat. Second, reframe your point using one of those collaborative phrases we just talked about. And third, invite the other person into the conversation. It's really that simple.
So what's the big payoff for making this switch? Well, the social win is huge. You get to be seen as both smart and approachable, which, let me tell you, is a rare and incredibly powerful combination. The difference in how people perceive you is just massive. I mean, sure, both approaches might get you seen as smart, but being a humble genius also makes you seem way more approachable and respectable. You're not just winning the argument anymore, you're winning people over.
Ultimately, this is all about finding that perfect balance. You want to share the cool things you know, but you also want to be grounded and relatable. In other words, you want to be able to flex your knowledge and touch grass. This technique lets you do both.
And that brings us to this really powerful idea. See, being smart is about having the facts. But being wise, that's about knowing how and when to share them. Humble teaching elevates you from someone who just knows things to someone who actually understands people.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Where will you be a humble genius this week?